broadcast, our podcast, making sure you'll never last. Sparks are flying, arcs are striking, subscribing and liking, your interest is spiking. If you're a fabricator, let us be a navigator. Routers and plasmas, the fourth state of matter. Lasers and welding, faster and faster. We're diving deep to help your minds get fatter.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, no matter where you are in the world. I'm glad you're here and on YouTube at Sheetmetal TV. And also, if you're listening to the audio podcast, welcome to Sheetmetal Unleashed on the audio podcast. So I've got a great guest today. We are talking with Robert Mann from BluTec Machinery. I get the pleasure of working with Mr. Mann. Especially over the last 3.5 years I've worked with him, but I've known him a little bit before that. So we're going to talk to him today and ask him about how he got started in manufacturing and see what he's up to and where he's going and what he's doing. All right, so let me bring Robert Mann in.
Hi, Dean.
Mr. Mann, how are you?
Good to see you.
Good to see you, buddy. I just got to mess with that mic a little bit there. But, hey, good to see you. I wanted to get you on here. I've got a good thumbnail for you, and I think I've titled it Robert Mann, the Magic Man from BluTec Machinery. If you know Robert Mann, you'll know what I'm talking about. So, Mr. Mann, I'd like you to just give us an intro about you, how you got into manufacturing, and a little bit of history.
Oh, that's a long story. I started, I think my first manufacturing job, I was just about 18 years old. I went to work for a manufacturer. Up until that point, I was a painter. And I did commercial and industrial painting. So I was a spray painter. And this company was hiring for that position. So that's how I got in the door at that factory. And I was there for about 5 years. After my first year, I moved up from a painting job to a tester calibrator. And this company manufactures gas pumps. So I was working on a more technical side. Testing and then repairing the pumps if they weren't working properly, didn't pass the procedures and everything. And so after about 5 years of that working, and I worked second and third shift most of the time, a friend of mine had a small but growing electrical business and needed some help. And so I started working in the electrical field. And I did that for a number of years and stayed with him and learned a lot, and then worked between electrical and HVAC for a number of years. And while I was working as a service manager for a very successful electrical company, had a good crew of guys, and I called on Wysong. Everybody in the fabrication industry knows that name. And I called on them and was doing a sales call. And the gentleman that I was speaking with, he listened to me and he was polite. And he said, I'm looking for a regional sales manager. And he said, I think you'd be good for the job. And so I said, well, thank you. And, I was young and thank you. I appreciate that. And then I just kept talking, trying to get him to do business with my company. And he turned his head to the side a little bit and he said, I don't think you're listening. And he pulled out a pen and he pulled a card out of his pocket. He starts scribbling. He turns it around and he said, this will be your base salary, and this will be your benefits, and this is what I think you'll earn in commissions, or I'm making a mistake even talking to you. And he slid across the desk and said, I need an answer by Friday. I was a young father with 3 small children, and so that was a big step, But the numbers he put in front of me was considerably more than what I was making doing. So, but I got back with him on Friday. And so that's kind of how I started in the metal fabrication end of manufacturing.
Nice. Now you worked in a fab shop as well, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And
Well, actually,
and
when I went to work for Weissong, I've always been a hands-on, kind of guy. Um, that's the way I learned. So I asked them, could I work in the factory for a while? And so my first month was spent actually running shears, learning to run a press brake, learning to do a little bit of fabrication work. I built the cylinders for the machines. I worked in assembly, uh, putting the machinery together. And when I walked in the door, I thought a press brake was what you did to stop your car.
mhm.
I had no idea what it was, and ended up making a living selling press brakes and working uh, primarily with press brakes early on and shears. So
Um, when was that? When
uh,
did you?
90, I'm thinking 95, 96.
Okay, yeah, that's a while back. Yeah, because I
Yeah.
remember I probably my first Y song I probably seen was over in Gastonia actually. Um, and that probably would have been about 2005 maybe. I don't
Yeah,
2006.
mine was old enough to where they had just come out with a PC control for a press brake. Up until that point, everybody pretty much bought a machine that, you put a Herco or an Automac,
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
something like
Yep.
that, an aftermarket. I remember back in the day trying to sell the value of a back gauge to a customer with a press brake.
Yeah. No,
And
it's
a lot of guys today don't remember that, but a guy would stand in front of a machine and set the machine up and make one bend and set it on a pallet and make all those first bends and then have to set the machine up again to do the second bend and then the third bend. And what was a big step back then to even realize and then invest in, I can put the part in and come out and it's finished. And
yeah.
today we take that for granted. But so I've lived long enough to see some, technology developing stuff in the industry. It's been exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought it was pretty amazing when Herco was put on press brakes.
Yeah.
Um, and now look at what we have now. Just for example, the Mitsubishi controller their press brake. You
Oh,
know,
yeah. A micron,
it's absolutely
which is
crazy.
amazing.
Yeah, yeah. Now, and you've covered when you started, were you covering the whole southeast, or what?
I had
What was
from
your whole area?
the Mid Atlantic region through Texas, so about a third of there
Okay,
were three of us, so I had a third of the company or the country.
okay,
So yeah, a
okay.
lot of traveling, and that was the big decision that I had to make. Was doing that. So, but I've enjoyed the industry.
Hmm.
There's a lot of good
Hmm.
people in this business. There's some challenging people too, but it's a lot of good people.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's like even though you have some competitors out there, but you're still all friends, and at the end of the day, um,
Oh
you
yeah.
all get on with most of them, and
Well,
like going to FabTech, it's like a reunion, right?
right. Well, our president, Rob, he and I were friendly competitors for years, and we'd run
Hmm.
into each other occasionally, or I'd reach out to him, vice versa. Um,
When did you meet Rob?
just over the years,
Yeah,
we always were competing with each other. And I got out
yeah,
of the business for a while. My folks were coming up on the end of the road and different things going on, and
yeah,
so that's I went to work for a sheet metal shop and did that for a while. But when I decided to get back into the business, I reached out to Rob because I'd known him well to be as you know him to be. I like the way he does business. I like the way he treats customers, and you know,
yeah. Super nice, man. I remember meeting you and Robert. I met Rob Collins when he was at
watching Hegner.
Murata.
Oh, Marana, yeah.
Yeah, that's when I first met him. When they brought that first laser in. Um, and then after that, I met you and the other guy that was working. Oh, I can't remember his name.
George.
Yeah.
Yeah,
George
yeah, yeah,
Devon.
yeah.
Yep.
Hmm.
And
Hi,
yeah,
George.
yep, yeah. Yeah, I met you at an open house that you guys had over in Hickory one time.
Oh yeah.
So,
Over at
but
EWS now is what it's called, I think. Isn't that
yeah,
right?
I'm
Over Cody's
sorry.
place.
I had a sandfly going around. I had to grab that thing real quick, man.
Yeah,
Um,
I remember seeing you there. That was early on when I joined up with BluTec.
yeah, yeah. So now, and when you started working with BluTech, and what was your journey like there starting, and so now you cover all the Carolinas there, and Eastern Virginia.
Right. Well, now we got Sam, moving into Virginia. But
Oh,
when
true.
I
Yep.
started, it was just Rob and I, and Rob and me. And
Yeah.
oh, it was, I mean, it was business as usual as far as what I've been doing. I spent half my career as being a regional, working on the factory side, and probably the other half of the career working, feet on the street, distributor sales guys like we do now.
Mm,
And so that part wasn't new. What was new was just refreshing to work with Rob and just like I said, the way we do things, and I like it.
yeah. Yeah. So what keeps you excited and motivated about this industry when you're seeing when you're out there every day? I know I get a kick out of going to see customers all the time and learning their stories and just seeing how they started their shops and how far they've come, and it's absolutely amazing. And that's part of why having this podcast is so they can tell that story, because I
Yeah,
just believe that manufacturing doesn't get a big spotlight on it half the time.
I know. And I've loved this business for many reasons, all of the above, but just to name a few, every day is like an episode of how it's made. You get to be involved in the behind the scenes of different products and, things that we take for granted every day.
Yeah,
None of this stuff shows up in stores magically. We have to make it. And so being involved in that has been good. And I've done it long enough to where I've worked with gentlemen that were just getting started, uh, and we're at one place, and then got in this business and just exploded and done so well and expanded. I could think of several. And again, the relationships. A lot of good people in this industry.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Um, Now, what is um what is something that you would tell young guys getting into manufacturing, or people, some people are working in manufacturing and they want to get into selling manufacturing equipment? What would you say to them? Because I know I've had a couple people ask, and I think some of them are a little hesitant to get into it, right? Because
Right.
it's a big responsibility to sell a certain amount of equipment each year, every year, you know.
Right. Well, gosh, I could say a lot about that. I have, grown children. One is in manufacturing and runs a press brake and has experience with laser cutting and things like that. But the first thing I would say is, we've all together, I'm not trying to point fingers, we get caught up in chasing money because we need it. We got bills to pay and everything like that, but we take for granted the skill that's required and the knowledge that's required and the big need until stuff starts falling out of heaven. We've got to make the stuff, and we're
Yeah,
in control. If we want to make good quality stuff or medium quality stuff, what we want to focus on, we're in control of all of that. And the tools that we've developed, the technologies that we've developed, it's exciting to me every day to think of where we can go together, inventing new things and finding new and better ways to do things. So it's an exciting thing to be involved in, and we need more participation of people that have a love for this sort of thing.
Yeah.
Really, I mean, why get up and go punch a clock and go somewhere and do something you're not interested in?
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's like I was talking to somebody else last night actually about um, having a passion, right?
That's right.
Because that sometimes that locks that lacks in a lot of people is passion for this industry. Some people just do it just to do it, and that's it. But there's still quite a few people out there. th- this is a passion. They love doing this. This is exciting stuff, you know.
Yeah, we need that. We need that kind of thing. I was fortunate. My dad, who's passed now, but he taught me and said it over and over again to not chase money. He said, "Do a good job. Whatever you put your hand to do, whoever needs you, wherever you get a job, you do a good job. The money will find you." And I have found that to be true.
Yeah. Um.
And that'll keep you passionate and keep you focused, I think, on the right thing.
And now you say you've got uh, a child now that's well, probably not a child, an adult child that is
Hmm.
in manufacturing, right?
Yes.
Um, and I believe I met him at FabTech in
Yeah, FabTech
Orlando,
last year. Yep.
and he loves it, right?
Oh,
He's
really does.
I had
When
a
he's
good
not at
chat with
work,
him.
he's studying stuff about it and has some of his own tools and has a little laser and yeah.
Okay, okay. So he's in North Carolina, right?
Yes.
Okay, okay, okay. Nice, nice. Um, and what else can so give some of these young guys a look into your day? You know, what would you do on a typical day as a sales manager or VP at BluTech?
I have to start with a cup of coffee.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And I'll end
I'll,
it with a cup of
I'm
coffee.
there.
Keep me going. Uh, my routine is to reach out to, we all have projects going, and to reach out and to help keep those things supported. We have installs going, and then reaching out to new people. A lot
Mm,
of getting in the car and going and driving and introducing ourselves and being personally involved um, is good, I think.
yeah,
We can't do everything over the email and build the kind of relationships and team building that needs to be
yeah,
done, even between, especially between vendors and manufacturers and end users. So do a lot of that. Do a lot of driving and going to see folks.
right, right. What's some of the coolest things you've seen in manufacturing? Some of the changes.
Um, oh goodness, that's a lot. It's a lot. The artificial intelligence that Mitsubishi has brought to the table with their technology with laser cutting. It's not a gimmick, thing. It really, as you know, really works. The augmented reality, those different things. The way that we're handling um, the back end of the process with lasering, with the ST system.
Yeah,
Um, you can spend a lot of money on equipment and do a great job, and you're creating a breakout party. So
yeah, yeah,
you
yeah,
know, so we can make it and stack it to the ceiling, but new and better ways to make it without tabs and to pick and place and sort and automatically move stuff to the next place. Um, yeah, it makes for a lot of efficiency.
yeah, yeah. What are the biggest misconceptions buyers have when shopping for machinery?
Hmm. misconception.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, maybe just making decisions so quickly, based on name brand or whatever. Builders are always, everybody is trying to improve and do better for the most part. Um,
Yeah.
and just not going to take a look. If I was in the purchasing position, I would decide where my budget was and have, kind of have a knowledge of what I'm looking for. The application is the most important thing. But I would look around. I would look around some. And then the
Hmm.
relationships, that's the most important thing too, because let's face it, it doesn't matter at the end of the day, the name or the color. It's a matter of, does it solve a manufacturing solution? And then when it breaks or I need application support, who's coming and how quick will they get here?
Yeah.
Those are the things that my clients are after. And so that's a big support network that has to be put together and a team that has to be put together to provide that. So, and we've got that, with MC Machinery, the partnership there, Mitsubishi.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know, you know, that they are doing a lot of AI on the laser and some of the bigger kilowatt lasers,
Hmm.
12, 20 kilowatt. There's a lot of AI on that. It's really good stuff. So, what are your thoughts on AI, um, and smart machine integration? Um,
That's
I
that's the way everything's going.
yeah, yeah.
We when you have the ability for a laser cutting machine that goes as fast as we do, to be monitoring what's the most important thing at the end of the day. Yeah, we want to go fast, but if you've got bad cut quality, if you're not accurate, then you've just made garbage. You've turned your cash into garbage. So to be
Mm,
able to monitor how I'm doing while I'm doing it and make corrections on the fly, that's huge.
mm, yeah. And yeah, I
When I
like.
say I'm talking about the machine itself.
Yeah, 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 yeah. No, no, definitely. I do I like AI. I know there's some people out there who are not embracing it, but sooner or later I think you're gonna have to embrace it. Um because if you don't get ahead of it, you're gonna get left behind, right?
Well, yeah, I remember back in the day, I talked my wife into going into debt to buy a computer. And I said, we had little children. And I said, if we don't teach these guys how to use a computer, they just as well not know how to read the way things are going. And so she said, well, who's going to teach them? You don't know anything about a computer. And so I had to learn about computers.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And I dabble in AI on the artsy side.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
so yeah, I have opinions about it. One of the biggest things is that anything we don't use, we lose. We don't want that to take the place of our imagination. We don't want that to take the place of being able to do math. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
These conveniences are good on the one hand, but we need to keep balance, in my opinion. And if we don't use it as a tool, we might find it's using us as a tool. So,
No, I agree. Because I feel the same way about learning how to work out bend deductions on a flat, right?
yes.
When you're bending sheet metal, I know the software can do it. They put everything in there and do everything for us, but you still should not learn that stuff, right?
Hmm.
Um, and because what happens if you don't have a computer that day? What are you
Right.
going to do then?
Well, if my phone doesn't come on, if there were pay phones, I couldn't call my wife or any of my children because I don't know their numbers.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
know mine because I give it out every day over the phone.
Yeah, that's shocking. Actually, I have to look up. I don't know my kid's phone number unless I have to look it up if I need their number.
Hmm.
Otherwise, I just look for their name.
Yeah,
Um,
same way. But again, that's what I was pointing to. And used to my mother, she's passed too, but if I wanted to know anybody's phone number, she knew the hospital's phone number. She knew the library's phone number. It was
Mm,
amazing to me. And
hmm.
but yeah, it's a different kind of world. It's changing. But as far as that particular technology goes, I think um, something that powerful, we need to know about it. We
Yeah.
don't want to be completely ignorant of it. Uh, there was a time we didn't have a printing press. There was a time we didn't have this. It looks like this phenomenon is here. So we're going to have to navigate it somehow.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Well,
the practical uses, like in our field of endeavor, is phenomenal. What we've done so far, and I can't imagine what's coming, but it's probably good in
yeah.
robotics too.
Yeah. 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 Definitely robotics. AI is exciting.
We've sold robotic welders for years, and everybody's involved in that knows those arms repeat over and over again, and they're reliable. That's
Yeah.
not if you have a trouble with a robotic welding system. It's typically not the arm. So we've got that down now, making it smarter, making it be able to see and calculate and move, and the type of stuff that AI would bring to a table in that scenario is probably around the corner.
And I do believe robots are actually coming down in price before now. When when they first started coming out with robots years ago, right?
Hmm.
So the prices is catching up, and now it's getting more affordable and makes more sense to head that way, right?
Right.
Um, Especially because there's a shortage of people in our workforce in the shops. Um, is it, is that what you're seeing in shops around your area as well? I
Yes.
mean,
Everybody's struggling to have people, that come and to work. It's a challenge, and people that show up every day and want to work are for the most part grateful.
yeah, yeah. Are they are there? Have you talked to many shops in around your area that are offering apprenticeships for young guys or stuff like that?
Not recently, no. I've had some work with one of the community colleges on a couple of things, but not as far as shops go right now. I haven't heard anything. I'm not
Mm.
saying it doesn't exist, but I haven't been made privy to any of that.
Yeah, yeah. I've not seen too much. I know there's trade schools out there, and they and community colleges do quite a bit.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I know in South Carolina, a lot of those bigger companies like BMW and that are getting involved with some of the local colleges and stuff like that
We need
um,
more. We need to
as well.
apprentice in the craft of creation. Like I said,
Mm.
until we figure out, until we have a Star Trek replicator, and we just push a button and get a slice of pie or whatever, we're gonna
Yeah,
have to
yeah, yeah, yeah.
make
Yep.
it. We've got to do it. And it seems like since COVID, it's been some changes as it relates to work in general. Um, and I don't know why, but that does linger. It seems.
Yeah, yeah. It's quite interesting because I'm seeing around my area, we can't find people to work. There's not enough people here, but yet there's some many houses going up. I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't know where all these people are coming from or who's buying them all,
Right.
but yeah, quite interesting. So, any what is can you share a memorable sale or installation or machine story um, that you've had something that is memorable that happened while you're working?
Oh, every now and then I can remember something. Actually, I was talking to Sam earlier about a experience because he had run into somebody this week that says they're looking at another laser and they're looking to buy another laser like the one they already have, which is good, if somebody did a good job for you. And so we were talking about that, and I reminded him or informed him about something happened a few years ago. And I reached out to a customer, somebody I'd known and had lost touch with. I think this was early on when we had started working with Mitsubishi. But anyway,
Mm-hmm.
I reached out to, no, it was around the time the GXF had been rolled out. So I
Yep.
found, I'd heard through the grapevine they may be looking. I reached out to this guy. I hadn't talked to him in a while. He was glad to hear from me. We had a great chat. And he said, well, we already have, XYZ, and yes, we are going to make a purchase. We're going to buy another one. And so, at that point, a sales professional, and I don't like arm twisters or whatever, but you got a decision to make. What do you do now? And so what I did was, uh, I understand that and I appreciate that, but you want to keep everybody's pencil sharp, and let's take a look. Stuff changes so quick in technology. Do you mind if I send you an email with a couple of links? And so I sent him a couple of links of Mitsubishi's AR and AI and that type of technology. Well, fast forward, there's a laser in there. There's automation feeding the laser in there. There's two press brakes in there with the Vidari system on it, the projection that's helping the operators. And the decision was already made in
Mm-hmm.
somebody's mind that they were going to go in another direction. When they looked, they found out there was tremendous value for dollar. Same money amount, but so much more technology and so much more throughput. You'd asked me earlier about, suggestion for customers. Look, shop, educate yourself on the stuff.
Yeah, yeah, because I think I actually said something yesterday. I was talking to somebody, right? But everybody's looking at the latest software and see what it can do, right? And the software A, B, or C can save you lots of money, lots of time. But if you're running a machine from 1995, that software ain't going to do much for you unless you bring that technology up to a point where they both hand in
Right.
hand will make a big change.
Well, and for a lot of what we do, it's not a small purchase. And
Yeah.
let's say press brake for a minute. You don't date a press brake. A guy marries a press brake, or at least for 20 years, a lot of times. So if you just go buy something and don't look at all the technology that's available and the improvements, you mentioned the micron. I had to look that up because I love to tell stories. It's a human blood cell is 5 microns. That machine's RAM repeats it plus or minus one fifth of a blood cell. If you're
Mm,
making scrap, it's not the machine because it's repeating. You see what I mean?
yeah.
So yeah, those things are important, and staying focused on the application.
Hmm. Hmm.
When we are serving a customer, we don't serve them not to find out first what is the application and help keep everybody focused on that, because we get distracted with shiny things, whistles and bells, benefits and features. Everybody's trying to sell something, but it's the application that's calling for help. It's the application that's going to define what help is required to be brought to the table. And at the end of the day, solving that problem is what's going to pay for the solution, that is going to be deployed, whatever that is, whoever's buying it. And I've seen over the years where wrong purchases have been made because we lost sight of the application. And then you locked into something for 20 years or 15 years, and you're not doing as well as you could because we didn't cross this T or dot that I. I can do this, this, and this, but it won't take me where I really needed to get. That sort of thing, and you can come up with
Mm,
all kind of examples where that can happen.
yep. Yep. How do you stay? I know the answer, but how do you stay up to date with new products and training?
Staying busy working. For the most part, because things keep changing. New stuff. This tabbing thing that we talked about a couple of weeks ago. That's incredible how that works.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
that, and then I guess like everybody else, I love YouTube because somebody somewhere has made a video of how to fix that doorknob or how to, you know, you have
Yeah,
to sort through junk. But I use it as a resource if I need to try to learn something or research something.
yeah, yeah. Um, I've got a few other questions here. Where do you see the future of machines and sales and manufacturing? Everybody. I know there's some people going on about the tariffs and everybody's become an expert on tariffs, um, right? But where do you see um, the the future of machinery and
Oh,
moving
boy,
forward?
that's a big question. Well, first off,
It's
the
it's a
future,
loaded question.
the future of us. How about that for a minute as it relates to manufacturing?
Yeah.
Uh, we went through COVID together, all of us, and there were two different administrations, two different sides of the aisle. What we've allowed ourselves to become experts on is arguing with one another instead of listening. So guess what? When everybody sat down, whoever's fault it was, everything stopped. And when
Hmm.
everybody got up and went back to work, everything started. And again, there were two different sides of the aisle. There were two different flags being waved, or red or blue. We're it. We're the economy. When we stop, things stop. When we move, things move. Let's move.
Yeah.
Let's create. Let's make what we're going to make. Let's do it. As far as the future of machinery, there's a balancing act we're doing there. There's stuff coming around with AI. The first negative part of that revolution may be white collar jobs because they're easily replaced, clerical positions and stuff, easily replaced with AI. So there's a lot of, fear surrounding that. But the more we automate, uh, the less jobs there will be required for manufacturing. So, but where's the balance?
Yeah.
How far do we go
Yeah.
in automating? Because you remember at FabTech, and we talked about my son being there. And I'm so glad he
Hmm.
was able to see because we were going from raw material, cut it out, no tabs, sorting it out, palletizing on different pallets, picking it up, taking it over to a press brake, bending it with a robot, offloading it, and palletizing that. No human interaction. And he's standing there looking. And I said, it was, went in a little early before the show started. I said, I tell you what, my takeaway would be if I was your age, go to work every day, work hard, learn, be relevant. Because you and I both see more demand in automation. Part of what's driving that is labor issues, not having the people to do it. So we've got to
Hmm.
decide together a lot of these things and not think that what we're doing is not affecting anything because we can't not affect by what we do.
Yeah, but people don't need to be scared of automation, you
No,
know,
no, no.
because it even if you've got automation, okay, you're not taking a job from someone. You're
Oh, no.
streamlining a process. You're creating a different job. You're actually promoting within because that automation's got to be overlooked and overrun. So why not have the people who did that work before manually because they can oversee and troubleshoot a lot of stuff and make the automation run smoother
That's right.
because of
You asked for
experience and knowledge.
a story. I'll tell you a story, and I think it's funny. Years ago, I
Yeah.
was at a big factory, and I was there doing a robotic welding demo with a small, one we could haul around on a trailer. And we were in the welding area, and So, and you know how it goes with robotic welding. Some of the welders feel like, oh no, they're trying to take our jobs. When you actually see them deployed, all the stuff somebody doesn't want to do typically is what's going in the robot, and the rest of the work, you're required to have the artistry of a welder. You know what I mean?
Mm,
So anyway, but that mindset kind of exists, and it has to be addressed. And so here we are doing this demo, and this guy is, I guess, in the janitor side of things, but he's driving one of these sweepers, these floor sweepers. So he's coming down this wide aisle. He makes a point to slow down and wave his hands at his welder buddies and says, "Hey, I guess the boss man doesn't like you too much. He's trying to get rid of you." And well, just being me, I couldn't let that pass. So before he got out of earshot, I said, "Hey," I said, "I guess your boss doesn't love you too much, or he'd give you a broom and a dustpan."
yeah.
So here he is, riding comfortably and sweeping and getting his job done with technology and less sweat off his brow.
Mm,
And he thinks that's okay. And he thinks somebody else is trying to be replaced, when actually what's happening is some technology and some ease and more throughput and more profitability for everybody involved is being brought in.
well,
But we can't throw stones at people automating if we're not going to go to work.
yeah.
Because
Well,
what else are we going to do?
someone's got to program them robots,
That's right.
right?
Right.
So, I mean, yeah, I wouldn't be too scared of automation. Um,
When the Industrial Revolution came, a lot of things changed, and there was displacement of things. But then it moved us to a whole nother level of innovation, comfort, higher standard of living, and everything like that. And we're going through something right now with this AI stuff that's probably going to be as impactful, in my opinion. I don't know for sure. I'm not an expert, but it seems like that we're up against something like that.
mm, mm.
So we need
Um,
to make good use of it, is my point.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And stop using
If
it.
what's that?
Or stop using it, one of the two.
Oh, yeah, I know, right? Um, if you weren't doing this, what would you be doing instead?
Right now,
Yeah.
resting. Oh yeah.
Uh,
My next step in my journey is going to be not in 15 minutes, but is to retire and spend time. I like creating music and art and making things. So yeah, I'll have plenty to do. Uh, but I'm in no hurry to run away from what I'm doing. I enjoy this.
yeah, yeah, definitely. How um now obviously we're all going to FabTech this year. Everybody will be there. I hope everybody comes and sees us at FabTech, and you'll be able to find us and find myself at the Mitsubishi booth there. So come check it out. I'll sign autographs, I'll be there. But anyway, what are you looking forward to FabTech this year?
Oh yeah, I'd feel like something was wrong if I didn't go to FabTech.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm excited to see what's going to happen this year and
It
see
seems like it's been
see.
about 30 years. I don't think I've missed but just a couple in the whole time. It's just something we do.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, it's been a while. I've been to a
Yeah,
lot of FabTechs.
yeah. But like you
Um,
said, it's a lot of good people in the industry. It's like a reunion. I love to see everybody.
yeah, and it's good to see all the changes out there and what's
Yeah.
going on, and see all the equipment. So I'm looking forward to it. But how can listeners connect with you and learn more about machines in your area and BluTec in your area?
Well, our website and my card, I have one handy, but I didn't prepare anything to put on the screen.
No worries. I'm
My email
gonna
address is rmann at bluetechmachinery.com.
Yeah, and I'll put all the links below as well.
Okay.
So when all the links will be below in the comment in the description of the video. And you guys can always comment or like or subscribe and reach out. And I'll make sure Robert Mann gets a hold of you as well. And on the audio side of the podcast, we'll have links there as well. We always put the links. So, but yeah, man, I want to thank you for coming on and doing the podcast. It's
Well, thanks for asking me. I've been watching since you started this, and I'm glad you're doing it. I think it's good for sheet metal in general, just people in this industry to be able to talk and learn more and communicate more together. There's
yeah,
plenty of business for everybody.
yeah, and there's different ways and different formats to doing podcasts and doing YouTube and that, and um, I think it's always good to highlight companies and fabricators and put them, give them a say and everything, right?
Oh yeah,
They have a lot to say. They drive this industry, right?
yeah. It's when we're going, everything's going, and when we stop, it stops. That's right.
Yeah,
And there's some hardworking people in this. I've said it over again. How about the good people in this industry? But really, for the younger people, if you're looking for something to get involved in, I would look into it. Look into manufacturing.
yeah. And you can always check us out. I've got a website and I've got resources on there where you can go to sheetmetaltv.com. I put links on there that, there's useful tools. I've got a link to some press brake tools,
Good.
calculators and stuff like that to MC machinery. So what we're about is just putting everything in one area, so you don't have to scour the internet for everything. So
Oh, good.
that's what it's all about, is coming to one place to get it. And it don't matter if you don't have a Mitsubishi press brake. Feel free to use all the links. That's what they're there for, to help you guys, especially younger guys who are wanting to move up the corporate or move up the ladder a little bit, right? To get to the next level in your career. So that's what this whole podcast is about. So put a spotlight on manufacturing. So, but I appreciate you, Mr. Mann.
Thanks, Steve.
And I will end this podcast, but I will do an outro. All right.
Okay. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks for having me on.
No problem. Hey guys, well, I hope you get a lot of information out of that, and like I said, I'll have Mr. Mann's links below, and on the audios, podcast, Spotify, Podbean, everything like that. There'll be links there as well. But I'm glad you were here. I enjoy doing these podcasts, and I look forward to doing a few more. We've got some coming up. I'm hoping to have a round table come up here shortly, and where we'll be trying to connect, and we'll have a group of guys on here, and we're just going to do a recap of the first part of 2025, and that will be probably released in July. So I'll see you guys out there. Good morning, good evening, good night, no matter where you are in the world. Have a great one.